This poem explores the raw and devastating experience of miscarriages, following a woman from the moment she leaves for the hospital to the isolating aftermath at home. The title of this poem is The Isolation Request, Her Miscarriage. The car keys rattled, a cold, sharp sound, against the quiet, hallowed ground of what was home, a waiting space, now filled with fear, a hurried pace. The bag was packed, a hasty throw of tiny socks, a gentle glow, a book of names, a hopeful sign, now shadowed by a dark design. A half-knit blanket, soft and blue, lay crumpled there, a painful view. The porch light flickered, a weak, pale gleam, a silent witness to a broken dream. The door clicked shut, a final sigh, as tears began to fill her eye, and a silent scream trapped in her throat, a wordless question, a bitter note. The engine coughed, a weary start, a heavy weight within her heart. The streetlights blurred, a hazy line, a desperate plea, please, just be fine. Each bump a jolt, a sharp, quick sting, a fragile life on trembling wing. The radio hummed, a distant drone, a lullaby now overthrown. The hospital's glow, a distant glare, a sterile promise, hanging in the air. Each mile a breath, a silent space, a fragile hope beyond its place. The scent of antiseptic, sharp and cold, a story waiting to unfold. The automatic doors, a silent glide, a world of waiting, deep inside. The nurse's eyes, a questioning stare, a silent message, thick with care, or pity's shadow, cold and deep, a secret she was forced to keep. The waiting room, a sterile hue, where hollow whispers filtered through. A plastic chair, a rigid frame, a silent echo of her shame. The magazines, with smiling face, of mother's joy in every place, a cruel reminder, sharp and keen, of what would never now be seen. The clock's slow tick, a measured dread, each second pulsing in her head. A distant cry, a newborn sound, a piercing grief, profound, profound. She clutched her bag, a trembling hold, a story broken yet untold. And in that space, so cold and stark, she felt the fading of a tiny spark. The doctor's words, a clinical tone, "I'm sorry, dear," a seed that's sown. A sterile room, a metal tray, where shattered hopes began to fray. The ultrasound, a silent screen, a stillborn picture, stark and mean. No flickering pulse, no tiny limb, just emptiness, a shadowed scene. The metal stirrups, cold and bare, a violation beyond compare. The white sheet draped, a fragile shield, from what her body now revealed. The silent tears, a steady stream, a broken vessel, lost to dream. The after silence, thick and deep, a secret sorrow she would keep. A hollow echo in her chest where life had failed its final test. And walking out into the night, she felt the absence of her light. The parking lot, a vast, cold space, where shadows danced, with empty place. The car, a shell, a metal tomb, returning to an empty room. The city's hum, a distant roar, a world that moved and asked no more. She drove in silence, numb and slow, a path she didn't want to know. The dashboard lights, a sterile glow, reflecting tears that softly flow. The empty seat beside her own, a silent space where hope had flown. The house, a silhouette in gloom, a hollow echo in each room. The key turned slow, a weary sound, on hallowed, now unholy ground. She stepped inside, a broken stride, and let the darkness be her guide. The silence screamed, a hollow sound, where whispered dreams could not be found. She walked the halls, a silent trace of what had been in this lost space. The nursery, a room of dread, where tiny clothes lay unspread. The crib stood empty, stark and white, a monument to fading light. She touched the walls, a trembling hand, a barren promise in this land. The tears fell freely, unchecked, raw. A broken heart, beyond all law. She sank to floor, a crumpled heap, where silent sorrows ran so deep. The night stretched out, a formless void. A story ended and destroyed. And in that darkness, cold and vast, she faced the shadows of her past. Her body ached, a hollow shell, a constant throb, a silent knell. The empty womb, a vacant space, where life had left without a trace. She felt the phantom of a kick, a memory that made her sick. The sheets were cold, a tangled mess, a lonely bed in deep distress. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but broken thoughts began to creep. The whispered names upon her tongue, a silent lullaby unsung. The morning light, a cruel display of what the night had stolen away. She rose at last, next to the post, a hollow ache she loved the most. With empty stomach, empty heart's decree, a crushing void consumed her utterly. Alone again, before the baby's breath, she longed for quiet even unto death. She asked her husband, "Leave me be," a silent plea for solitude's decree. With empty hand and hollow core, a crushing void she'd not ignore. This is the end of our poem. Until next time, Lyrical Reasons.